Most of the wheat which we are using here is coming from Ukraine. That's what you should know. Now there's no more supply from Ukraine coming this side. You see, we are buying bread now at around 1,000. Yes, 1,000 kwacha, close to £1 bread for a loaf of bread now. Hmm? But yet we used to buy the same loaf of bread about 6 months down the line at around 500 Malawi kwacha.
Welcome to Coffee and Geography, where my guests and I geek out about the world and everything on it, discovering that we are all geographers in some way, shape or form. I am your host, Kit, and my pronouns are they, them or she, her. So settle down with a brew, hit that subscribe or follow button, and enjoy the listen.
This podcast is sponsored by the World Energy and Meteorology Council, or WEMC for short. WEMC is an international organisation focused on weather and climate data to support energy transition, and we also work with educators. WEMC have created Teal, an easy-to-use free visualisation tool that enables you to explore climate variables for the past 70 plus years. Get started at tealtool.earth. Find us at wemcouncil.org and follow us on Twitter at wemcouncil.
Hello everybody, I'm excited to be joined by one of my dearest friends. I visited his beautiful country in 2013 on a teacher exchange where I was a collection of what was affectionately known as a sorted Uzungu and had the privilege of welcoming him to UK following year. And thinking of this man always brings me joy. So I'm delighted to be joined from Malawi in his car by Francis Mpakati. Francis, Bully Bunji.
Bueno, Kain.
Dili Bueno, Zakumo.
You haven't forgotten.
I still know the basics, Francis. I still know the basics. So let everybody know who you are. So Francis is an ex-English teacher, teaching for many years at a secondary school in Dedza. He now lives with his wife and children in the capital city, Lilongwe, and owns his own business importing cars for the Malawian market. And as I say, you're sitting there in one of your cars.
Yeah, of course, I'm sitting in one of my cars, and I show the people. Oh, it's
Yeah,
okay.
well, unfortunately they can't see. Oh, but I have you can show me around, Francis, and I can describe what I'm seeing. So is it like a 5-seater or something?
It's an 8-seater. It's
An
a Honda Step
8-seater.
Up. Yeah, 2010 model. Let me turn the camera around.
So I can see everybody. It's beautiful weather there in Malawi. The grass
it's
is all
sunny.
green. It's nice and sunny. I can see lots of trees. Oh, that is a lovely. So basically, folks, it's basically a lovely sleek black SUV. So you said it was a Honda
Step Wagon, Spada.
Honda Step. Yeah. So it's a lovely
Honda.
looking vehicle. Is that your personal one, or is that one of your company's one?
No, this is my personal one.
Oh, very nice. Oh, it's got an automatic sliding door as well. Not even mine can do that, Francis.
It has lots of extras. It's very comfortable. It's very good to drive. It has lots of speed, but also it's very stable on the road, and you can enjoy this one. When you come back here, you use this one.
Oh, you're going to let me drive?
Yeah, I'll let you drive. Of course, yes. I'll process your license and I'll say, okay, you can drive, and we go wherever you want.
You see, everybody, this is how good friends Francis and I are. Francis is very precious about his cars. You probably could guess that, in terms of Malawian income, they're not the cheapest of things, but he will still let me drive one. That's friendship. That is friendship. It's a beautiful vehicle, Francis. Yeah, so you're so you said a few days ago you were in Tanzania, I believe. You went because it's quite often you go over to Tanzania to import cars. Is that right?
Yes. I think that was last month I was there. But I'm turning around so that you get the best picture. I think there.
Oh, you're a handsome man.
Thank you very much. I went there, I got something like 3 cars. And I saw them. One is remaining, a 2-tonner is remaining. It's at home. But I'll be leaving again this weekend I'm going to get one more.
Oh wow! And you said
Yeah,
that.
so,
Did you say that one of them was hybrids, or I know that two of them you said were hybrid. Was that right?
yes. Two of them were hybrids, and then one was an ordinary one. The truck is an ordinary one, but the two of them, they were salons, they were hybrids. So slowly we are moving into the hybrid market, and I hope we'll be there for good.
Yeah, because we had a chat because obviously you know because I've shown you loads of pictures and everything that I have an electric car and our friend Brave who came over to visit. So Brave used to be a colleague of yours in Dedza in Umbwe High School. Teaches math. It was maths he would teaches, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think
physical science,
math and science. Yeah. So he
yeah.
actually managed to take a ride in my electric car. So my Nissan Leaf. But you said that that's just not achievable for Malawi at the moment because they don't have the infrastructure and electricity is still very, very expensive there. But it's really, really interesting to hear that hybrid cars are, because you're still quite reliant on petrol and oil and fuel, of course. But that's really, really encouraging to hear that even Malawi's kind of making the move to hybrid. Is there a lot of demand for hybrid cars in Malawi? Are you finding a lot of people interested in buying hybrid cars?
Right now the market is not yet picking up because people are not frequent visit with hybrid cars or even electric cars. I've never seen an electric car in Malawi, for sure. I'll tell you that. But for hybrid cars, I've seen a few. I've reported two, but the market is yet to pick up. We are yet to tell the people the better side, the good side of hybrid cars. As of now, they are still rooted in using petrol, diesel, or whatever. If you talk to them about the hybrid cars, they'll say, no, the battery is very expensive. When it runs out, you need to replace it. I know it will cost you quite a lot. But we try, and slowly people are beginning to understand the better side of using hybrid cars. So I think as we are going on, we'll be able to break into the market and then we'll be able maybe to import, hybrid cars.
Interesting, of course, is that you show because we're a bit late starting this chat, but it doesn't matter. I will wait for you for ages. But you sent me a great picture of you stuck in traffic behind this big truck, and I just thought, that hybrid. I'm just thinking like the amount of times people might be stuck in traffic and they're wasting fuel. If they had a hybrid car, how much fuel and therefore how much money they would be saving, and also the pollution. There'll be very little pollution because the hybrid electricity kicks in, and there's not generating all that pollution because the traffic. How bad is the traffic in Lilongwe? Can it be quite bad?
Right now, I can say it's now becoming quite bad, especially during the peak hours. Like the moment I said I'm going home, that was around lunch hour, right? So that time it's hard for you to navigate the roads. The number of cars now has quite drastically gone up, and we normally do have traffic jams, for about maybe it can happen for about 2 hours or 3 hours daily between the peak hours. For example, in the morning, when people are rushing to work, during the lunch hour, when people are moving around, trying to get lunch or going home, and then when people knock off in the afternoon around 5 or 6 p.m. Malawi time. So that's when now we were so hard. But the number of cars in Malawi now, comparing from the last time you came here, there's quite a very big change. Very big change.
So that's 9 years. 9 years ago, I was there, Francis.
9 years now. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It's been 9 years. We are heading into the 10th one.
But it's an absolute honour to have been your friend for that long, though. So I'm really interested about this. About the fact that you have to go to Tanzania sometimes to import your cars. So I know that I've got a lot of geography teachers back home are listening, and for them they would be very interested, like this journey that you have to take to get these cars into Malawi, because of course what people may or may not know is that Malawi is a landlocked country with the exception of its lake. So why do you have to go to Tanzania to get your cars, Francis?
Malawi is a landlocked country. We don't have direct access to the sea. So the nearest port that we can easily import cars from and safely is Dar es Salaam port in Tanzania.
Dar es Salaam. Okay.
Yeah, in Mozambique, we have ports which are very close to us, like Beira, we have Nampula. But these two, they are in the northern part of Mozambique, and the northern part of Mozambique is disturbed right now militarily because there are insurgents there who have taken over part of that part. So we cannot freely navigate through that part to ports of Beira, and especially the port of Nampula, which is very close to us, but we cannot use it because of technical reasons. So the best port which we can use, and very easy for us to move from that port to Malawi, is Dar es Salaam. But besides Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, we also use Walvis Bay in Namibia, especially when we are importing cars from UK or Europe or America. So we normally use Walvis Bay in Namibia. So it means if you import a car from UK to Walvis Bay in Namibia, then you have to drive for about 4,000 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, you have to drive for about 4,000 kilometers from Namibia to Malawi. When going, we fly, but when coming back, we have to drive. So it's a very tough job. When you're driving something with speed like my step wagon, it's easy because you're cozy and you're driving. It's okay. But for example, say I've imported an 18-ton truck, and I can't go over 100 kilometers per hour. So you can see how that can take. You can stay maybe for a week or two whilst you're still driving home.
Wow, that must be quite a bit. Your wife is a hero.
Yeah, she's
Francis. She is an absolute Kazi Younger. She's absolutely a hero, and
she's
to
used
put
to
up with that.
And for your information, when you came here, I had how many? 3 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a girl, Helen. The second one was Hazel. The third one is Hesty.
Yep.
Now, Helen is in third year at the medical school now.
What? That's incredible.
Yeah, sure. She's doing Bachelor of I think medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, and she'll be there for 6 years. So she's in her third year now. But when you came here in Malawi, I think she was in standard 8. Yeah, I think she was a very little girl. But now she has grown.
Yeah, she's in secondary school, I think.
Yeah, no, she was in primary school.
Well, Hastings was in primary school. Yeah, no, Hastings wasn't even in school.
Was the toddler. Was the last one. He was a toddler, about 1 year old.
Oh,
and now,
my goodness.
And now he's about to finish his primary education now. He'll be writing exams this year. And then after that, he'll go to secondary school.
Oh, that's amazing.
You see how time flies.
It most certainly does, because when I came over, because of course, when you came and visited us here in the UK, and you stayed with my wife and I, we hadn't even had our first child by that point. Theo wasn't born until the following summer. The year after you were here, and now of course Theo is now 8 years old, and Kai is my youngest, who you've never met. We've never met either of them, but Kai is now 5, and they're both in primary school. So just seeing the look on Francis' face, everybody, it's like, where does the time actually go? Well, is there a good Malawian saying about time flying? Because obviously you've heard the English term time flying. Is there a good Malawian colloquialism about time?
I have to think about that. I'll tell you as we are
going. Yeah.
I'll tell you about that. Okay, we were talking about the ports.
Yep.
So from Dar es Salaam to Malawi, it's about 2,000 kilometers. As for me, when I'm driving from Dar es Salaam to Malawi, from Dar es Salaam to Songwe, our border in Malawi, it only takes me about, let's say about 13 hours or 14 hours. I do cover that 2,000 kilometers. So I'm used to it because I do it more often.
So, do you do that in one day, Francis, or do you stop?
Sometimes I do stop. I'm getting old now. but when I was a bit younger, I could drive non-stop. But with the stops for about an hour or two in between, so as to cool down the engine. But that's the way how we move cars for now. We are doing this because it is very expensive for us to use carriers, vehicle carriers. Yeah. And so there was an agreement between the Malawi government and the Tanzanian government that they have to open a dry port in Mbeya. When you navigate the Tanzanian map, you see where Mbeya is. It's very close to our border in Songwe. Very close, almost about 100 kilometers. But lots of political things, lots of stuff for them to do, agreements. And up to now, nothing is happening. And the biggest blow is that the railway operator, the railway line operator, the train service, which was supposed to carry the cars, they refused because of I think it was because of insurance purposes. You see, So we said no, leave us. We are comfortable. We'll keep on driving.
It just goes to show how many barriers get put in place. Like if it's not geopolitics, like countries not agreeing with each other, it could be conflict or insurgency, to stop you using a more convenient port, or it could be the fact that there's bureaucracy with the insurance. There's just so many things that get in the way. And you told me the other day as well, didn't you, Francis, that even the Russia-Ukraine conflict is having an impact on what you're trying to do and your fuel prices and whatnot. So how is what's happening in Ukraine kind of having an impact in Malawi?
There is quite a considerable impact which we are feeling, especially when we talk about fuel prices, fertilizer. Again, fertilizer we used to buy. You are very conversant with Malawian quarters, right?
Yep.
£1 now is about 1,100 Malawi kwacha.
Has it really?
Right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the big gap we are.
In 2013, it was £1 to 500 kwacha.
And now it has doubled.
Oh my goodness me. Okay.
You see that? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with the conflict going on in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia right now, what we are feeling now is the automatic rising of very essential commodities like fuel. You see, our economy is agro-based here in Malawi, and the marketing system of fuel here in Malawi, they normally use what they call automatic pricing system. This means when there is a global change somewhere in the pricing of fuel, it means here again it automatically changes on its own. That's what happens. So we know that the global trends in market prices are getting fuel is going up. It means here again it's going up. Right now we are buying petrol at around 1,150 kwacha, which is close to over £1. And then for diesel is a bit higher than that. It's about 1,470, something like that. Yeah, somewhere there.
So, folks, it's last year. In the UK, it's about £1.50 ish here. So in Malawi, it's not that much cheaper per unit, but of course, the purchasing power that us Brits have is a lot higher than the folks in Malawi. So therefore, effectively, it's extortionately expensive.
Yeah, the economic, effect there of the pricing system cannot affect you because you have got a bit under a stronger buying power. When we talk about your economy, your economy is big. You see, whilst ours is shrinking by the day. We'll talk about later on what I mean by that. It's about too political. Because last year, the same petrol, we were buying it at 800 Malawi kwacha, 700 Malawi kwacha, just last year. 2 years ago, we were buying that one at about 500, 600 kwachas. But when this government came in, things turned around, my friend. I'm not against them, but this is what's going on now. The prices of basic things in Malawi have shot up from the moment this government took over. Things are not going backwards. They're going now. We thought things would be better, but they're not better.
Yeah. So it just goes to show how everything is external things like conflict in Ukraine can influence those internal politics as well, and it just goes to show that how interconnected the world is.
When we talk about fertilizer, most of our fertilizer was coming from Ukraine. That's what you should know. Most of the wheat which we are using here is coming from Ukraine. That's what you should know. Now there's no more supply from Ukraine coming this side. You see, we are buying bread now at around 1,000. Yes, 1,000 kwacha, close to £1 bread for a loaf of bread now. But yet we used to buy the same loaf of bread about 6 months down the line at around 500 Malawi. So you can see what I mean there when I say we depend on what we get from outside for us to produce here in almost anything. Yet the politicians here are failing to make Malawi and what we call a production or a productive operated economy, whereby we can produce things on our own. It doesn't mean that we don't have some of the things which we can replace with fertilizer here. We have them here. But the way how they manage things, now we are beginning to believe that maybe all the politicians in Malawi do not care about Malawi. They care about themselves. That's what we are thinking. Most of us are thinking in that way. To say we are not being given that chance that we can turn our lives around for the better. And so that's what I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely, 100%. It's yeah. I mean, the political situation here just seems. Yeah, we've got. I'm not going to talk about British politics now because we have our own issues with British politics here. And
I know.
But yeah,
I know. I know. Once you talk about the what Downing Street number 10, they had a party during the.
Oh, see that news. See, did you hear that, everybody? That news gets everywhere. It goes worldwide. But the thought that I had, Francis, of course, is that as much as this world is interconnected and can do a lot of damage to economies like yours, mostly because of the colonial history, which means that economies like Malawi's are almost enslaved to the economies of power. That also has the opportunity of being a positive thing. Like, for example, if us here in the UK were to be more positive about what we buy, so say, for example, if we ditch our fuel and we start going renewable, for example, that will cause the demand for fossil fuels to decrease. And with the decrease in demand of fossil fuels means that the price will go down, which means that while folks in, like, for example, in Malawi, who are still reliant on petrol, they can be able to afford it a bit more because the demand from us rich folk has gone down. I mean, we can make a difference just through our habits and our purchasing habits to people like yourself in Malawi. And that's so people say, why do you buy an electric car kit when you can afford a petrol car? It's like, well, I want to do something for the environment, but I also want to do my bit for society as a whole as well. I don't want to be demanding petrol so it's too expensive for someone else. So yeah, it's all that interconnectivity that I think a lot of like us geographers try to make sure that people appreciate. So thank you for that insight, Francis. Speaking about, so you've just done you once a teacher, always a teacher, Francis, right? You've just done a great job of educating people.
I'm retired now.
yeah, I know you're retired. Remind me, how long was you actually a teacher for? It was quite a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I taught for about 17 years before I retired.
Oh, yeah.
By the time I was coming to UK, I had taught for about 16 years. 16.
Yeah, so you taught English, and you said I kind of, when we had a little chat about this before, you said the quote I've got here from you said, we still believe in studying about the parts of the leaf and the grasshopper, and yet, and this is, I mentioned another, I'd say you're a great Malawian, Francis, but another great Malawian, William Kamkwamba, and you said here, the likes of William Kamkwamba, who, for everybody who doesn't know, he's the boy who harnessed the wind, who built his own wind turbine for his family farms out of stuff, showed us how we can be creative, we can think and reason properly, and yeah, and your children are prime examples that if you give any human being the resources, the education to nurture their talent, they can go on to do great things, no matter where they are in the world. So yeah, You must have seen some stories of like amazing students in your time, I imagine, Francis.
As a teacher, I have tons and tons of my students' experiences, and as of now, as I'm talking to you now, I still talk to them. Some of them are still talking to me. I have one who is studying in China now. He went there on a scholarship. Yes, he was at Umbi. He's doing, I think, biomedical engineering, and he's finishing now his master's there. Master's or doctorate, PhD, something like that. I think I'm yet to find out about that, but he's in China. He's been there for about 5 years now. But there are several of them who are doing quite well now. But before I comment on that one, let me take you back a bit. You talked about something about skill. The ability to give somebody skill for survival. That's what I'm trying to explain here. The problem with our education system here is that it's something that is copied. We copied it from you guys. But in the process of us copying from you, we eliminated a few things which were very important. We actually eliminated things which would have helped us to be skillful in nature. And we somehow relied on being a theoretical, on developing a theoretical type of curriculum. That's what we are. So instead of us producing people who are skilled in one way or the other, we are producing people who are very good at memorizing and remembering.
Yeah, this sounds familiar.
You see what I mean? You see? I'll give you an example. You gave an example that we teach our kids here parts of a leaf. Yet when they finish secondary school, they go to college, they get employed. They don't use that parts of a leaf in their day-to-day work, job endeavors. They don't use that. Now, when you sit down to say, what is the essence? What is the importance of learning a parts of a leaf in a classroom when you cannot even use it? Parts of a grasshopper. You see, we learn about in history. We go to learn about Zinjanthropus. Zinjanthropus, that's the first man, it's also found in Kenya. But in actual fact, when you go out there and you want to do something for your survival, you don't use Zinjanthropus for survival, you see. So we are developing people who are theoretically inclined to say, this is what I have to learn if I have to move from one point to the other. We are not encouraging people to be skillful in nature and be creative in nature. That's what happens. I used to tell my students to say, if you want to succeed in life, be creative, be skillful. Taught them. And that's what I was doing. Besides being an English teacher, I used to have a small track which I was doing business. I remember I had photocopiers at home, and kids from my secondary school used to photocopy their things at home. That was a business. And slowly, I sprang up from there to something else. When I told my friends that I'm retiring, I'm doing an early retirement from work, they said, you are mad. You won't survive. Because they are theoretically inclined to say, if you leave the theory, you cannot survive. Yet it's the skill that you need for you to survive. So in short, you look at doctors. We have doctors here in Malawi. How many people are able to give us a formula for making Panadol? None. No one. We have doctors who know how to give Panadol. They go to the medical school and they will learn when to give Panadol, but not how to make Panadol. You see? So this is the kind of problem which we have in our education system. I'll just digressing into that part because of the comment which you came on. It was so interesting, and I thought expounding on that one is quite far much more important for people to understand that when we talk about education in Africa in general, we are a theoretically based education system. We are not skillful in nature. No skill.
Yeah. I would argue that we're the same here as well, Francis. We're still that way here in the UK, where kids get so anxious that they need to pass their exams if they're going to be successful in life, and it's so heartbreaking. It's one of the reasons why I left the teacher profession. But you know what? One of my best memories of coming to Malawi and going into Umbwe was that I did Mr. Cantus's geography lesson, right? And it was wonderful because my lesson was about life in the United Kingdom. And I had the kids burst out laughing because I said this. I said, I am not here to teach you about life in the UK. I am here to talk to you about what we do in the UK, which we can learn from you Malawians how to do better. And they were like, laugh, like I couldn't believe it. What could we teach you? You should be. We want to be like you. We want to be like UK. What could you teach us? I was like, no, seriously. And then the things that I did was like all of the issues that being, capitalist centric, growth minded, always after getting more materialistic, all that kind of stuff, and all the problems that that's caused in our country. And I'm like, and I want you to tell me, in Malawi, what do you do different, and you're still happy, and that was such an amazing experience because I felt that it wasn't just me partaking my knowledge onto them. It was, here is my experience. How could I make the best out of my experience based on what your life is like? And hopefully some of them come away from that lesson thinking, you know what, the UK is not a perfect place, and actually there is parts of my life which I want to keep hold of because they're precious and they actually work better. So, yeah, that was a wonderful experience. That was.
Hi folks, a chance for you to recharge your brew, but also a polite prod to remind you that it's so easy to support this podcast. Simply liking, sharing, rating and reviewing means that it will get on more people's radar. Also, there are a few links down in the description which may be of mutual benefit. Please do check them out.
I must say, maybe we are slowly now moving towards that angle, but we are not doing it fast enough. Because when you still see the kids in the schools, what they are doing is just the same thing. But I am sure that maybe very soon we'll be able to change, to move. The previous government did establish something what we call community colleges, whereby kids would go into such kind of places and get a skill, like in metal fabrication, woodwork, mechanical engineering, something like that. And they'll come up out of there with some kind of a knowledge, which will help them survive. Building, building and I think building something like that. Bricklaying. It used to be there before, but they discontinued that one to be based fully on the political side, which I'm saying it is now producing some people who are very good at remembering. That's what I mean. As for me, I'll give you an experience with my last born Hastings. He's writing his final primary school exam this year, 2 months' time. So I told him, after you've written this final exam in your primary school stage, between the time he writes the exam up to the time the exam will come out, there'll be something like 3 months. So I told him that during that 3 months, I want you to get a very good foundation of a skill which you want to pursue in life. You know what he said? He said, I want to be a mechanic. I said, very good. So when he finishes this, I'll put him at a garage. He doesn't have to do anything. He just have to watch and move around and see what the people are doing. And by the end of that 3 months, he will not be the same person. So that's what I believe in when I talk about a skill or something like that. That's the way how I think we should teach people. English should be there for communication, to be able to link with the outside world, to be able to understand what people are doing, what people are passing in life. That's very important. But the most important thing is for people to have a skill.
Oh, I love that.
We normally teach our kids to say, okay, fine. What you have to do here is you have to pray in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. It's not bad to do that. But by the end of the day, what are kids in the UK doing? They are busy doing graphic and designing. They are busy doing electrical engineering. They are busy, in the lab, trying. You are teaching them from a very tender age on how to do stuff that is big in life. When they meet it, when they grow up, they will recall and say, "Oh, this is that was the foundation, and this is where we are, and we know where we are." Someone who is theoretically taught, he goes to college. and then you introduce those people to a high standard laboratory, they'll be lost. It will be like they're starting from the first step. But if you had given them the experience to say, okay, this is what you will meet it in university. They get there, they get into that lab, they just continue from there. That's where we are missing it. Anyway.
No, I love it. I think a lot of people a lot of educators here in the UK, Francis, are going, yeah, that's yeah. I'm not. They're nodding, even though we can't see them because it's a podcast. One last thing for us to talk about. One last thing just to talk about before we finish off is the story of your uncle, Dr. Francis Mpakati. This is a fascinating story. And from when I met you 9 years ago, you were trying to figure out kind of like the circumstances of his story. I'm not. I'll let you say. But you were trying to figure out things about his life and about the way his life ended. We're now 9 years later, and you found out a bit more information. And I think this is such an amazing. It's a tragic story, but it's an incredibly interesting story, which I think people will be very interested in hearing about. So, yeah. So tell us about who your uncle was, and you know the story of what happened to him.
I may say that up to now, not much is known about him, because the Kamuzubanda regime tried to suppress whatever thing that was about regarding him. But I may say that in the 9 years that has gone by, I've been able to unearth some things which are very, very important. And they have given us an eye-opener who the man was. Just a couple of months ago, I just discovered that by the time he was killed in Zimbabwe in 1983, on 23rd March, he was actually working as the Reserve Bank governor in Mozambique. You see? It's something that we didn't know. You see, historians were omitting that part. Now, so there is a group of people who actually gave me lots and lots of information regarding Dr. Mpakati. And this group is called the Lost History Foundation. It's here in Malawi.
The Lost History Foundation.
Yeah. Lost History Foundation. They are not only doing some stuff regarding Mpakati only, but they are trying to unearth that lost history here in Malawi, which was not regarded. So one of it is regarding Dr. Dr. Mpakati's early life is not very well known, but he was born in the southern part of Malawi in a district called Chiratsu. You know, Malawi is divided up in districts geographically, and we have something like 29 districts now. So he was born there, he was raised there, he went to school there, but I think by the passing of time, after finishing Cambridge in those days, they were writing Cambridge. They were not writing Malawi School Certificate of Education. No, they were writing Cambridge. So he scored highly, and he got a scholarship to Moscow, Russia, and he economics up to PhD level. That's why he got his PhD. So he came back to Malawi, and then I think I don't know what he was working that time, but he had a very strong position in government. And then it came to a time whereby he was not pleased with the Banda's policies, because him, being educated in Moscow, he had a socialism inclined understanding of politics. So the principles which Dr. Banda was following back then seem to have come to a loggerheads with his own beliefs. So they parted ways. He started to speak against him, whatever thing that he was doing. He discovered that most of the things which the government was doing was evil. So he decided to fight against it. That's where everything started. That's where the mayhem started. So he grouped up with a few Malawian cabinet ministers who had fallen out of grace with Dr. Banda. You remember, you don't remember, I'll tell you, in 1963, when Dr. Banda was the prime minister, he had a very, very strong iron hand on the government. So there were a few ministers inside there who was against him. They did not rise. So I think they argued against his policies. Some of them, there was Chipembere was one of them. And Chipembere was regarded as the successor of Kamuzu because he was very intelligent. But he rose again to say, he taught Kamuzu in the face to say, what you're doing is not right. These were issues regarding human rights, economics, whatever, all angles which they thought the president was not doing fine. They tried to advise him. But because Kamuzu Banda was adamant, you see, he turned around against his own cabinet ministers. So the ministers somehow, something like they decided to chicken out after feeling insecure in their own country. Some ran away. Most of them, they went to Zambia. So at this time was not a cabinet minister. No, but I am not sure if I do understand the position. I'm not sure about the position which he held in government. I'm not sure about that. I'm yet to find out about that. But it was a senior position. So him plus another person called Yatuta Chisiza and a few other guys, plus the former president, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, was the legal advisor of the group in which they formed back then. That's how things were. So he ran away from here to Tanzania. I think that's how the story goes. And they established a group which is called Lesoma. Lesoma is something like Liberation Socialist Movement. Yeah, something like that. And he was the president of that movement for about 9 years, if I'm not wrong. 9 years, yes. So from Tanzania, he went to Sweden. Yes, Sweden. That's where he got married. He had 2 kids, I think. So we don't know about the kids up to now. Where they are, we don't know anything about his wife in Sweden. We don't know anything about that. I think they were afraid maybe to expose themselves to because the government was after our uncle, and they finally got him in 1983 in Harare. But frankly speaking, we say the wife and the children up to now, we don't know where they are. If they are still alive, we don't know. So let me continue. From Tanzania, when he went to Sweden, it was like he was moving around across the continent. He had very good working relationship with the former president of Mozambique, Samora Machel. He's the one who appointed him to be the Reserve Bank governor there. And he was doubling as Lesoma leader and the Reserve Bank governor in Mozambique. So he was organizing Lesoma activities, moving around. And this now attracted the attention of Banda because he was getting popular by the day. And it came to a point whereby Lesoma was the strongest opposition here in Malawi at that time. And they had all the chance to dispose him. So what Dr. Banda did was to get rid of everyone who was against him. He started with his own ministers who had fallen out of grace with him. He started with those ones. He killed a few of them. And then he sent a letter bomb to Francis Mpakati, and when he tried to open it, I think it blew off most of his fingers on the left hand, few fingers on the right one. So all this time when he was leading Lesoma, he had no fingers. They were all blown off. I think Machel, because the bomb did some kind of quite a considerable damage to him, they flew him from Maputo to UK. That's where he was treated. Mm-hmm. So when he was leading, he was meeting people across the continent, forming his organization, forming various structures to make things right, infiltrating Malawi so they should, they should tell the people what is happening. They should school the people how things are supposed to be done after gaining independence. So because the government wanted to get rid of him, his movements were very limited. Now, it's a very, very long story. I think I will do some kind of a separate documentary for you. I will send it to you with whatever. I'm omitting a lot of information which you are supposed to know. I'll just go to the last part whereby maybe you can have a question. How did they manage to catch up with him and then kill him in the end? We are thinking, with the information which I have, we are thinking here. I mean our whole family. We are thinking to say the American government is linked with, especially the CIA, is linked through the Zimbabwean government. Because what happened was that Dr. Mpakati flew from Maputo to Harare. In Harare, he was supposed to meet President Robert Mugabe. In actual fact, he was a visitor to the current head of state at that time. So he was on his way to Sweden to see his family. So when he got to Zimbabwe, I think instead of him being taken straight to State House, maybe, or somewhere safe, they took him to a hotel. I've just forgotten the name of the hotel. There, that's where they killed him. He was killed there. We don't know how he was killed, but there are several theories how people think that maybe that's the way how they killed him. There are several. I'll share with them with you later. So they killed him there. They took his body and they dumped it by the roadside. For example, you see, I'm at a hotel here. You see the building behind me? That's the president's
building,
hotel.
yeah.
So they kill somebody. Mm-hmm. And then if you see this side, you see there's a busy street at my back there. So they kill somebody in the hotel and they throw it at the busy street there. And then they kill us, they vanish. Not even not even the Zimbabwean intelligence, speaking anything about. Yet the person who has been killed was supposed to be a visitor to the ruling president that time. And now the most funny part is that during that time, the one who was responsible for intelligence in Zimbabwe is the president who is ruling right now, Mnangagwa. So you see that? Yes, it's very interesting. So I said, so he was at the home of the intelligence service in Zimbabwe at that time. I think he knows something about it, but we cannot ask him because he's the president now. You see? And the way how things are in Zimbabwe now, if even I go there to ask him, I cannot come back. I can't. I'll come back maybe a dead person. It's far much more dangerous now than it was with Mugabe. Yeah, sure. In Zimbabwe, you can't just talk about anything else. You go missing, my friend. So, in short, just to give you a short overview of what I've managed to source out, this is what is there. But you understand that Francis Mpakati also stayed for some time in Stratham in London. That's why he was holed up for some time. I'm yet to find out what happened. And that time he was on his way to East Germany. That's where he wanted to go. So I'm yet to make some connections here to see what actually happened. What actually happened. He had some links in Zambia. I talked to a few of them, and they gave me some kind of information to say, if it was killing to Francis Mpakati, he had been killed in Zambia. But the Zambian guys, they were so vigilant. They were able to follow Banda's men. They were able to know their plans. So the most common link which happened here, for him to be killed in Zimbabwe under such kind of circumstances, it leaves a lot of questions to be answered. Now, just a few weeks ago, I did discover some kind of an intel from a person who said I should not mention his name. He told me that there was someone here in Malawi at the police headquarters back then who is believed to have had a hand in the killing of Dr. Mpakati. And now I know the person's name. He's retired now. I'm not sure if he's still alive, but I think I'm still digging down there. I'm still digging. So how was he killed? They say when he got to the hotel, the pillows were already poisoned. So it was just a matter of him laying on the bed and then putting his head on the pillows. That was the end of it. That's what happened. So by the time these guys, took him from the hotel room, he was already dead. And they just shot his body to make it look like he has been killed, but maybe some other guys, running around. But it was already a planned thing. How did this thing happen this way? I talked to one of the guys from the Lost History Foundation, and he told me that he got information to say during that time when Dr. Mpakati was flying from Mozambique to Harare to meet President Mugabe on his way to Sweden, in Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF party was having something like, by then, I think they are not yet in government. No, they were in government a few years. By then, they were having some kind of a financial problems regarding the annual general meeting which they were supposed to hold. And then, Banda promised Mugabe to say, if you get me this man, I'll give you $3 million for your event. So in 1983, how much was $3 million, my friend? It was a lot of money. So it had to take the whole country to rise up against one person, lure him into their country, set up everything. In the end, he was killed. His body was buried in Zimbabwe in Harare. Up to now, I'm telling you, my friend, up to now, there is no tombstone on his gravesite. There's only a number. So we are planning maybe this year or next year to put up a tombstone there. We've been trying hard to get his remains here, but I think it's too deep. Because even some of the people who are in government right now, they've got information on how this guy was killed. And some of them did had a hand in his. So, my friend, in short, that's what I can tell you about this man. But according to the people who I've talked about, the people who worked with him, a few of them, they talked highly of him. He said he was a person who was straightforward in whatever thing that he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew about it, the political principles which he was following. He knew them. And he knew how they were going to affect the people, the impact which they were going to have on the people. He knew about that. And the people who were following were convinced to say, if we can follow what this guy is saying, we can rise up from one point to the next as far as Malawi is concerned. That's what I mean. But since, when in politics, they say politics is a very dirty game. You either rise up or you fall. So that's what happened in short. But it's a very tragic thing. But I'm still digging and I'm still getting lots and lots of information. I'm trying to arrange with a meeting with the former president because he has some kind of an experience with him. But it's very difficult to get through to him as well. But I'm sure they will give me this chance to say, okay, you can talk to the big man. Then I think he can give me his side of the story to say, this is what I know about this guy.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. And I know that's a very charged story. And I know it's the most important thing is for your family to have closure. That's a very important thing. And what I would say to anybody listening is, I'd say that this is a result of a lot of things at play, and I think that it's a shame that people like the British government don't help out a little bit more, because if it wasn't for the drawing of lines on a map and the colonial processes, they wouldn't have driven people together to conflict in the first place. Things like this would be less common. But if anybody, I know this is we're only a tiny little podcast, mostly talking amongst friends. But if there's anybody out there listening, anybody out there who has actually I might have a friend, or I might know an agency, or I might know there's some elements of Francis' story about Dr. Mpakati which thinks they might know a little bit of information which could lead to something else, get in touch. It's very unlikely. We're not a massive podcast. We're not on the national radio or nothing. But you never know, Francis. There could be one person listening who might know something. Might as well ask. Yeah. There's no harm in asking. So,
I don't know. There's that side whereby you say, there's the big man is gone. Now, what about you guys? What did you go through? We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what about the impact on us little guys? Yeah, exactly.
What happened?
Yeah. Francis, it absolutely pains me to say that we've got to finish very, very soon, but there is one more thing we've got to do. For people like yourself who are listening for the first time, we do one thing which we kind of get all the guests who've been on this podcast to link to each other. And what they do, Francis, is that they come up with one word that you've got to talk about for 30 seconds, right? So last week I spoke to Millie, and Millie is now going to be doing stuff about invasive species in Alaska with her studying, kind of like cross between Durham University and Harvard University, which is amazing. And I said, what word would you like to give to my next guest? And she wants to give you the word map, M-A-P, map.
Yeah, map.
Right. Map. So the deal is, Francis, is that you've just got 30 seconds to just talk about maps or map, or how you use maps, or whatever. I don't know, the journey that you take to Tanzania. I don't know, whatever you like about maps. Do you have any in your house? I don't know. Anything you like. Just have some fun.
Yeah. I got atlases, books with maps, something like that. Yes, which my kids use. I use them sometimes. But also my phone, I have got some kind of app there, maps, which I normally use. But when you talk about maps, we talk about countries coming together, linking together the boundaries. See, sometimes they can act as a unifying factor. Also, sometimes they can act as a dividing factor. Talk about Ukraine and Russia. The line there is just an imaginary one. People do not even see it, but look at what is happening. The same in Africa. These are just imaginary things in our brains.
Yeah.
These are beautiful, but we are the same people with the same thinking, with the same way of life. I think later on, we'll erase all these things and let things be the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. What an amazing little take on the word. Just the word. This is why we do this, Francis. Just the one word, and it can really give you such an insight like that. Thank you so much, my friend. That was amazing. Right, one more thing. And for the next person I speak to, what one word would you like to give them?
Love.
Oh, yes. Oh, let's do that. You're the first person to come up with the word love. Yeah, love. I love it. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so is there anybody you hope is listening that you want to say hi? Can I do a hi for someone before us? Should we say hi to Joss? Hi, Joss, if you're listening. Joss Mac. Yeah. And Sue. Hi, Sue.
I would say hi to all assorted Azungu.
All the assorted Azungu who Francis knows.
Yes. All the assorted Azungu, high five to all of you.
Oh, bless you. So for those who don't know, Azungu effectively means, it's just like, it's an affectionate term for a white person, isn't it, basically? Yeah, because you say assorted because we're big, we're tall, we're fat, we're small, we've got blonde hair, brown hair. Yeah, that's why. I love it. Oh, amazing. Francis, you use the word love. I'll say it here. You are a close friend of mine. I really do love you very, very much. I miss you really, really much. And I hope one day, it's safe for me to come out and see you again, or we can somehow one day get you over here again. It would be so amazing to see you. And we promise, if you come over here, my wife will cook for you again, just like last time.
Yeah, that one. What do you call that?
Oh, butterscotch pie. Yeah,
exactly. That one. Sure, thank you very much for having me on this podcast, and I think I'm very happy.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you had fun. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe so more stories and experiences can drop into your favourite podcast app. If you fancy being a guest or have any feedback, follow us on Twitter at coffeegeogpod and send us a DM. Or you could email coffeeandgeog@geogramblings.com. Until next time, keep geogging.